Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Or if you're new here, please subscribe for all the latest and greatest Star Trek Picard news and other great sci-fi TV shows. So this week we're talking about episode 4, Star Trek Picard, the episode Absolute Candor. Great episode directed by Jonathan Frakes. We saw some flashbacks to the old Romulan colony. We got a bit of hand-to-hand combat. We got a bit of space action. We got a little bit of risky business, Romulan style. And we got to meet 7 of 9. A bit of everything. So let's take a look and see what the episode had to offer. So this episode begins on planet Vash T, which is the Romulan relocation planet 14 years ago that they were evacuating Romulans to before the supernova. And it begins with Picard beaming down to the colony here, dressed in a very fine linen suit and Panama hat. And is this a good look for Picard? I'm not sure. It sort of looks a bit more like he's a kind of a pimp or a Colombian drug lord or something, I think. It seems a bit odd considering this is during the whole relocation process. He's still in Starfleet. He hasn't resigned his commission yet. Shouldn't he be in a Starfleet uniform? What is he doing dressed like a drug lord in this getup? Seems a bit odd to me. They've got Federation ships in orbit. They're coming and going with shuttles, beaming people down and up. And this is right at the heart of the relocation effort before the whole thing got scrapped with the rogue synth attack on Mars. So it seems weird that he's wearing civilian attire in this episode. I would have thought it would be far more appropriate for him to be in his Starfleet Admiral's uniform. And we get to see Elmore as a young boy. And he's a little bit of a shit. He's running through the town. He's stealing fruit from some guy. He's telling this guy, the shop vendor who he's stolen the fruit from, to bite him. He hasn't got the best manners. But nonetheless, he's cute and we're meant to find this adorable. And Picard comes to visit Elmore and his caregivers, Romulan nuns, for want of a better term. There's a previous relationship here. He brings Elmore a present. You can tell that he's developed quite a bond with this kid and with these sisters that he's visiting. He's reading stories with Elmore. He's teaching him how to fence. You can tell there's a definite history and a definite bond between these two. And it's kind of cute to see. It's also nice to see the fact that Picard has mellowed a little bit in his older age and isn't quite as a stickler for the kids anymore like he was back on the Enterprise D. So Picard's had a lot of dealings with these nuns and they've been a big help in the whole relocation effort. And Picard's teaching Elmore about the Three Musketeers, teaching him how to do a bit of fencing, and it's good to see Picard getting back into the old fencing again. He obviously did that quite regularly on the Enterprise D, so it's kind of cool to see him back in with a sword, or in this case a stick, in his hand. Next, what happens I find a little bit odd. Raffi contacts Picard from the ship in orbit, and rather than tapping his comm badge and speaking as we know he should, he sticks his finger in his ear like he's got a Bluetooth earpiece in. What? Really? Don't we know Star Trek by now? He should have just gone, yes, hello Raffi, tap his communicator, and just spoken to her normally. What's this finger in the ear business? We've never seen that before. That's never been in Star Trek before. He's got his communicator on the outside of his Colombian drug lord suit. I'm not sure why that creative decision was made to do, but it seems totally out of place. And Picard finds out at this moment is when the synths have attacked Mars. So this is what Picard was doing while the rogue synths were going crazy and destroying Utopia Planitia. Now we're back to present day and we're on the last arena with Jurati and Chris Rios. And I gotta say, this is a kind of a funny scene. I'm loving Jurati's character here. She has got a really nice sense of humour and her character is really well written. She gets all the good lines. There's a few laughs here and it's good to see a little bit of levity in the writing of this show. It's not all super serious. And that's when we find out that they're en route to Vash T, the planet that Elmore was on and that we saw in the opening pre-title sequence. And Raffi's not too happy about this. She obviously knows what went down on Vash T years ago with the whole relocation and everything, and realises there's a bit of guilt there on Picard's behalf. So yeah, she's not all that happy. She just wants to get to Free Cloud. And here's what we find out. He's using the ship's holodeck to recreate his study from his vineyard on board the ship. Why can't we just use his quarters? Surely we can build a quarters set for Picard to have. He doesn't need to sit in a holodeck and pretend he's at home. He's quite capable of having like a ready room type room on board the ship that's not a holodeck. It almost seems like the production's run out of money. Oh, we haven't got enough money left to build a quarters set on board the ship. We'll just use the office set from his vineyard and say he's on the holodeck. It's like, really, come on, like, we don't need to see him in his office. Kind of struck me as a little bit of an odd creative decision there. We've kind of spent the first 3 episodes in his chateau on Earth. We kind of want to be in space now, I think. We don't want to be back on Earth again. And it seems like we're stepping back a little bit to the beginning by rehashing this set. And it's here we meet another one of these Rios holograms in the form of the hospitality hologram. It's like, geez, how many different types of Rios holograms do we need to have? All with different accents. Is it kind of starting to wear a little bit thin as a kind of a shtick here with a showreel exercise for Santiago Cabrera? And Rios even comes in and says he hates the effing hospitality hologram. So just delete the bloody thing. Put that program away, back it up somewhere and not activate it all the time. But I guess it's a kind of a nice little touch of humour and levity, which is welcomed. We next get a nice shot of the La Serena at warp. I'm not sure whether this ship used to be a big version of like a runabout or something that Rios has given a flashy paint job to. Certainly there are some aspects on the bridge and so forth that are slightly reminiscent of sort of a much, much larger version of something like a runabout. And here we find out a bit of information about the Kira sector they're heading to. It's kind of controlled by warlords and smugglers and criminals. Rios says there's a warlord who's got an old Romulan bird of prey, and he's kind of preying on ships in the system that come in and attacking them. So it sounds like the area they're travelling to is a bit of a hotspot in the sector. So Picard tells of his little plan to go and get a Kawat Milat assassin to join the crew because he's old and frail and needs some muscle on his team. Next, we're back to the Borg cube where Soji is watching some old archival video of Ramda talking about the destroyer Seb Sheneb and some prophecies and so forth to do with her. And so Soji's doing a research on what this whole business of the destroyer is about. So now our ship and crew have arrived at the Romulan planet, where they're finding a little bit about the security, and the planet's encased by a shield that they have to kind of wait for an access code to get through a gateway sort of thing to get access to the planet. And we hear a bit about these Fenris Rangers that seem like a sort of a peacekeeping force, maybe has patrolled the sector and is sort of keeping things in order, so to speak. So they're struggling for access to get into this shield, and Picard says, well, drop my name. And they said, well, we did, and that didn't really go over too well. We don't like you, and we don't like the Federation, and we don't like Starfleet, so everyone else can nick off. So that's pretty much the message they're being sent by this colony. So Rios says, just drop some cash on them, and they'll be right, they'll open the door for you. So Picard's got to get into his bank account and pull out some of that Chateau Picard money from a few crates of wine sales and pony up some dollars to get through the gates there. So Picard beams down and he's getting a bit of a frosty reception here on this planet. Nobody kind of wants him there. They're all kind of giving him a bit of a snub. He's trying to be friendly, but you can tell no one's really all that happy to see him. So Picard goes and visits his Kawat Milat assassin nuns, and we see Elmore all grown up in this scene. So back on the Borg cube, Soji is kind of running some tests of some kind on Ramda, who is unconscious, and she says that she feels a bit of a connection to her, despite the freak out that Ramda had in that room last time in the previous episode. And in comes Narek, and we get more of this kind of teen angsty, controlling romance thing going on between these two. I feel this relationship is kind of stalled a little bit between these two guys. At this point, we've seen so much kind of, oh, like, yes, I see you, and I love you, and all this sort of stuff. It's like, okay, come on. We get the idea by now. I feel we just want to see Soji activate like Dahj did and go mental and start taking out Romulans or something. It sort of feels like every time we go back to this Borg cube now, we're kind of retreading ground we've already covered. The rate at which this Borg cube storyline is progressing is snail-like in its speed. And we're not really getting any new information in this scene. It's just kind of treading old ground again. So Soji is saying she wants some somewhat classified information about what actually happened to Ramda's ship, being the last one that was assimilated by this Borg cube. What went wrong to cause the complete meltdown of the ship and have it sever itself from the collective and all that sort of thing. And Soji's saying, where would I find this information? And it's restricted. And the relationship between Soji and Hugh seems to be quite strong in last week's episode. If she needs to find out some information, maybe she could ask him as the executive director of this whole business with the Borg cube. It kind of seems weird that she's trying to talk to Narek about taking sneaky options to find out this information. Now, the next scene we get is in this ventilation return on board the Borg cube, and the floor is a bit slippery. And he proceeds to show her how to skid up and down the floor in her socks like she's Tom Cruise in Risky Business. Come on, really? It's a cute scene, but I just feel like it's a bit padded. There's obviously going to be a moment where she activates and something big happens here, but until then, almost every scene isn't giving us any new information. It's just padding out information we already know. And Narek says this is an old Borg ritual. Yeah, come on, as if Borg are going to be sliding down the hallway going, whee! No, I'm sorry. Assuming that that's just a line of BS from him. I do not buy that for 1 second. So back with our crew, they've picked up some communications on board the planet. Some comm chatter's been going around and a few people have been spotting and identifying Picard, and they're not too happy about it. And Raffi and Rios are saying there's some bad dudes down there that don't really like Picard or the Federation or Starfleet, and the shit's about to hit the fan. Meanwhile, this bird of prey operated by this gangster or smuggler type character that operates in this sector has been detected on the sensors and is coming into the system. So they're about to get into trouble with this shady character. So Picard's trying to put in a bit of a request with our assassin nun here to get somebody to bind their blade to his cause. But the place is kind of gone to hell a bit. You can tell there's a fair bit of tension in the air in this place. And Elmore is tense too. He's obviously annoyed at Picard, having not been back for so many years. So Picard says his mission is a dangerous one, but still he wants Elmore along for the ride. It's kind of cool from my personal perspective, seeing Elmore, played by Evagora, in this scene, who is a fellow Aussie like myself and even from the same hometown as me. So that's kind of cool to see because we haven't really had too many Aussies in Star Trek before. Great to see some Aussie talent being put to use in Star Trek for once. Long overdue. So Picard says, dude, you've got the skills that I need, join my crew and please make sure that nobody kills me because I need a Romulan Jedi. So Elmore storms off and leaves Picard to be on his merry way, tail between his legs. Picard's got about 7 minutes before the next window opens up so that he can get beamed off the planet. So he decides to go to the local bar cafe there, which says Romulans only on the sign, and he is a bit pissed off, so he decides to pull off the sign, chuck it on the ground, and then step on it with a big screw you to the Romulans, which kind of seems like a bad idea. Like, you're an old man, you got a bunch of angry-looking Romulans in a bar, just chill. You've got 7 minutes to wait until you can get beamed up. Don't go stirring the hornet's nest, so to speak. So this sort of seemed like a bit of a cavalier move from Picard to do this. He then walks into the bar going, hello everybody, welcome, Jolly and True. It's like, are you kidding me? You just pissed all over us, you know. He might as well have dropped his pants than mooned them. You know, it sort of seemed like a bit of a slap in the face when he's only got 7 minutes to chill before he's able to get beamed up. It's like, dude, you're just asking for trouble. So it would appear that Picard has pissed off the wrong Romulans because he's out for blood, giving Picard a sword and throwing him out into the courtyard area to have what seems like a fight to the death. And Picard refuses to fight, which of course is the perfect moment for our Romulan Jedi friend to come to his rescue, as Elmore appears behind, asking the Romulans to stand down. And in the blink of an eye, Elmore pulls off some serious Jedi moves here, doing a triple flip and a sword move that kind of takes off the head of this Romulan guy who's trying to attack Picard. And it's like, whoo, okay, all right, that was unexpected. I thought there might have been a bit of a sword fight there, but this guy obviously is so lethal that he took out about 3 Romulans in the space of about 2 seconds, decapitating the last one. And Picard looks about as shocked as I was. And Elmore makes a big announcement saying, I have bound my sword to Picard. Anybody who threatens him is going to get their head cut off in a similar way. So everybody's going, hey, I'm cool now. I got no beef with him. So after getting beamed back up to the ship, Picard gives Elmore a bit of a smack on the wrist, so to speak, for chopping the dude's head off back on the planet. Says, no more killing. Too much. Yeah, a little bit excessive, Elmore. Just tone it back. You can protect me, but just don't be chopping everybody's heads off every 5 minutes, please. So Elmore says, all good. I will pull myself back a little bit, and I will wait for you to say so before I use lethal force again. So back on the Borg cube, we have another one of these slightly incestual scenes between Narissa and Narek, where they're all groping one another and whispering in each other's ears, and it's like, it's kind of a bit of a weird brother-sister relationship these guys have. And again, we don't really find out any new information than we have in the past few episodes. Again, Narissa says, you're going too slow. Again, Narek says, yes, oh well, I'm playing the long game or I'm playing the slow game to get the information we need. And again, Narissa says, all right, hurry up, and if you don't hurry up, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. This is the same conversation they had in the last episode. It just feels like padding at this point. It's like, come on, let's get to some juicy stuff here. We can't just keep repeating the same conversation over and over again. They've had these conversations multiple times now, and it's kind of getting a bit old. So back up in orbit, the ship is getting ready to leave when they get attacked by this Romulan bird of prey. And they're evading shots from this ship. They're trying not to get too close to the planet because the Planet Defense Network shoots back at them if they get too close to that. They've got the bird of prey coming on one side. They've got planetary defense drones shooting them from the other. And Rios has to activate his emergency tactical hologram, who looks like a slightly drunk version of himself, yet another one of these Rios inspired holograms. And the ship is taking a bit of a beating. And just in the nick of time, another ship enters the battle in support of our trusty crew here. But they're not sure who it is because the ship has no identifiable markings or no transponder signature. All they know is that they are helping them attack this Romulan bird of prey, where they make a crippling blow to the bird of prey, severing one of its nacelles clean off. The mystery ship has taken a bit of damage and it's headed for the security net. So they need to emergency beam out its pilot. Pilot is beamed in just as the ship impacts the planetary shield, and it's none other than 7 of 9. Great to see Jerry Ryan back on screen again, reprising her iconic role from Star Trek Voyager. And Picard looks pretty shocked to see her. I guess they know each other by reputation. I feel like the stuff that's going on with Picard and his crew is kind of moving along really nicely. It's advancing the story. I feel like the stuff on the Borg cube is crawling along at a snail's pace by comparison. Now that we've got 7 of 9 on board the ship, I think the interest and level of excitement on board the Picard crew has jumped up an extra notch now. We've got our crew together, Elmore's on board, 7 of 9's on board. We've got everybody together. Good episode, a bit of action, a bit of hand-to-hand combat, a bit of space action. We got to see 7 of 9. What did you guys think of Absolute Candor, episode 4? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What bits did you like? Which bits didn't you like? Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know what you think. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share this video, and I'll see you guys next time.